Welcome to another Gamma Partner Artist feature. Today we speak with Resaang. Resaang digs into her past in finance and business, how she got into art at the start of COVID, creating art for her friends, how all of that experience and even a little bit of Muay Thai has inspired her and given her the solid ground to really be intentional and be present and know exactly what she wants to do and how she wants to be in the space. She digs into the various inspirations, other creators, and how she's not afraid to think outside of the box and not just stick to one style. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Okay, welcome. So today we're speaking with Resaang, who's one of our wonderful Gamma Partner artists, someone who has been creating NFTs and art and physical art and mixing the physical with the digital in really unique ways. So I can't wait to get into that. Welcome, Resa. It's a pleasure. Your first print is doing super well. And, I noticed you and we first, I guess, kind of met you and saw you through getting your Chromatica Ordinals collection live on Gamma. But introduce yourself, let the audience know about you, about your art. You can go back as far as you like. How did you first get into art? But the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, nice to have it. Like anyone who's listening, thank you for your time. My name's Resa. I am born and raised in Hong Kong. I went to school in New York. I went to NYU, studied finance accounting, and then, well, this is non-art related, but I had a career in finance where I was working at an investment bank, both as a banker, trader, and then also on the buy side as a hedge fund analyst, covering credit. And then soon, I think this year, I sort of quit and I'm now currently full-time Web3, where I'm also a research analyst at a alpha group in the space called Underground. Over the last few years, I've also, just had a pretty decent career as an alpha caller research analyst in the space. Now, that aside, I've been an artist. I would say that I've been seriously doing art since I was 21, 22, where it started off during COVID, where I felt that I was not, able to connect with my friends and family. And so being in sort of isolation away from everyone, I found comfort in my art. Because even at the time, I was also very passionate about like fighting and Muay Thai, and even when I was in New York, you just can't spar. You can't find anyone to do group activities with, and so I turned to my art, which gave me a lot of comfort, and started doing paintings or drawings for my friends that I couldn't see. And so I would ask them to pick a place that is meaningful to them and then create an art piece and then send it to them. And so that was how I first started building my portfolio. And I would say during COVID and the year after COVID, um, I've I've I probably have like 20, 30 pieces of like full blown art, from black and white to color, in my portfolio. And so that sort of started it all. I came to the NFT space in October 2021. Also wanted to be an artist at the time, and found that this could be a good outlet in parallel to like my finance career. I always had a very I always had a mindset that I didn't want to use art to pay the bills, because I think that when you have to create to make a living, it becomes a very different, sort of beast. And yet here we are. I think that like taking this leap of faith, NFTs has sort of empowered my artistic side and given me the opportunity to pursue that in a more relaxed manner without being too, focused on, having to use it to, pay the bills or whatnot. And so being able to do different things and to build different skill sets, I think is very useful. But at the same time, building a community in this space, I feel very, supported by my community members and my collectors, so far. And I think that it's a really good testament to, having that support to grow. Because in Web 2, being an artist, I think that there's a level of connectivity that would be a miss. You don't connect with collectors as much. And so that's something that I'm very grateful for. In the NFT space, also, the first year I was in a space, 2022, 2021, 2022, I was probably a lot more of a trader and collector as opposed to an artist. This year is when I started, dropping a lot of art, from 3 open editions to like 10, 15 plus burns for all those open editions, to launching Chromatica Ordinals, which is the first, physical backed abstract art collection on Ordinals. There's no other collection like mine, I would say. And the file size is like 100 to 200 kilobytes. So it's quite significant compared to your average like pixel art, pixel art sort of standards. And it's also not trait based, so it can't be recursive. So having that sort of a experience was really rewarding, and it's still ongoing because uh, people still have yet to claim some of their physicals, having to constantly ship things out, making sure that I'm staying on top of it, that whenever people want their physicals, I'm there to be able to deliver. And so that sort of connection and relationship is ongoing, that I find, really meaningful. And, constantly mentioning and talking about Chromatica Ordinals wherever I can, like meeting like Beeple last weekend, and showing him Chromatica Ordinals, like things like that. I think that it's very organic for me to do, and I really enjoy it. And so I kind of look forward to seeing how that side of art grows.
Yeah, wow, what a story. And I didn't realize you had that background in finance. I guess it's given you quite a holistic or different perspective coming in. You said, you came in as a trader and a collector, and then you also had your art, which you started during COVID. How do you think all of that experience has kind of guided or driven the direction that you've headed?
I think that it definitely has given me a good, logical thought process in terms of understanding different collections out there, different artists' trajectory, how I want to launch collections. I think that, considering things like mint price and just different dynamics, it's really important. I try not to be too, I think that my artistic side is on one end, and my sort of finance side is on the other. And I channel the finance side and the analytical side into like my research analyst role a lot, being at Underground, which is an alpha group, and putting, top tier research that is, well researched, arguments that are well laid out. I think that's something that, I find a lot of joy doing as well. And so just having different paths fulfill different areas that you really enjoy. Now, my artistic path is obviously very, very different because I've explored different art styles. I am exploring different art styles, and I wouldn't say that I'm boxed into a certain art style. And so that's something I'm grateful for, because I don't want to feel like I'm only an abstract artist. Like, I love architectural drawings, and I love, drawing, super structured buildings. And I'm also like sort of about to start picking up coding, and I want to get into the generative art down the road. And there are just things I want to do. I don't ever want to feel like your creativity is only in a box.
Yeah, totally. And you can see, I guess, perhaps I don't want to put words in your mouth, but even through the art which is on display in your Chromatica Ordinals collection,
Yeah.
that you have like lots of different ways of thinking, lots of different ways of presenting things. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this art, and maybe like where it was driven from? You mentioned during COVID you were creating art for your friends, but yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like you have lots of different creative outlets, including Muay Thai, which is super cool.
Yeah, I think that Chromatica Ordinals is a more recent, and it's inspired by it's the technique is scrape art, where you drip paint onto a canvas and you use a scraper to scrape it, whether or not it's small scrapers, big scrapers, window scrapers, whatever it is. It's to draw paint in a certain way. Different artists pull paint differently. You see like Amber Victoria, and I didn't know that her paint was scrape. Like, it's also a type of scrape art, until she told me, hey, like, I noticed we pull paint differently, we should do something together. And I at that time, I still don't understand what she meant by we pull paint differently, because I thought that she was a painter, like she just did, painted. And so when I met her in real life and she explained to me, and I look into her art more, I understood what she meant by I scrape differently, because when she pulls paint, her paint is very, very flat. I never pull paint to the point where I'm really like pushing all the paint off the paper, I always like to leave a lot of texture, which is something that I love about my physical art, that when someone receives the physical art, you really can see the distinct textures between, paints and how paints come together. And that's something that you can't really capture on digital. Now Chromatica Ordinals came about, the specific time was like, I think March, April, I say, when I heard about, special sats. And I feel that it was a very interesting canvas to be able to lay out art on. And as a physical artist, the type of art that I was doing in terms of architectural drawings takes hours to finish a piece. It would be impossible to do a collection, within a short time frame. And so I ordered supplies like for scrape art and didn't even know whether or not, I could do it well, or I could do it in a way that, you know, is presentable. But as I started the account Chromatica Ordinals, I posted like my first um, process video or first few process videos. I remember my hand was shaking because I wasn't even using my phone stand at the time, my art, like in terms of overhead camera, because I have that, but I didn't. It wasn't even clicking that. Is this something I could even do? But then I started getting a lot of traction organically. People were talking about the art, and something that is so simple, that as a simple art style, and we don't see that. I think that was a really refreshing thing in this space, that I got a lot of support from the space, feeling happy that they're seeing this type of art. So that's when I went for it, and I was doing so many paintings in like a really short period of like time, and each painting takes like 15 to 30 minutes. And so it really, I just like didn't sleep for a few weeks, and at the same time, you can't, the collection is very, very diverse. If you look at it, it's 130, abstract paintings, and we have an on cyber, and the entire mint process was so dynamic because there was going to be a physical claim. I had to sit down with my whitelist to make sure that they understood, everyone had the chance to get the piece that they wanted. It was a first come first serve burn, where you would, everyone spends time in the on cyber, finds out the pieces that they like, and there's so many pieces you could connect with. Everyone connected with different pieces, and we got people to fill out a top five form, and then on the day of mint, the first to burn would open a ticket. We would verify everything, and they would sort of be on a list to choose which pieces they wanted. And so it was just so nice to see that, like, one of my collectors, called Artist, he's the 50th to burn, and he was able to get his top pick. And that to me that was so happy, because I felt that, wow, you really could, I created a collection that was so diverse that the 50th person still could get his favorite piece. And that made me feel so proud, because that was what I wanted to accomplish, where people were able to resonate with the pieces, and they connected with the art. So it's not, I didn't get influencers to write threads. I didn't do any false marketing. I never paid for a single dollar in promos, and did none of that. And, being able to get the collectors that I have, like, I'm really grateful. After vacation, I didn't check the floor for a while. I was like, oh my God, maybe it's at zero. I checked, it wasn't. And I was like, thank God, so it's just so nice to have a mature audience, because you you share your vision, you go on different spaces, and different people resonate enough with you that they want to be, on the journey with you. And that's something that, Chromatica Ordinals, from a value perspective, I made it super clear, like, who I am, why I'm here, what I think this collection can be. And, I'm still continuously engaging in our chat to, whenever I have an opportunity to, like, tie people together. Like, I flew to Charleston, brought a Chromatica Ordinal to people, got him to, showed him my art, got him to do a derivative of the piece that he did. And then I told you about that. I'm going to, high quality scan it and launch it as a print on Gamma, and whitelist my Chromatica holders, because that's something that it's a joint effort, where my holders pick that piece for him. And that's the type of, that's the type of relationship that I want with my collectors. I want them to feel like family, and wherever I am, like, if I meet them, buy them dinner, so that's the way that's how Chromatica Ordinals, short story.
Totally. And I think that collaborative approach is super key in Web3. And it sounds like you're taking a really sort of mature, I guess, like to use the word approach with that. Tell me about how you obviously very intentionally link the physical and the digital, and why that was important to you.
Yeah. I think that as someone who finds a lot of joy in physical art, I wanted to express that same feeling to my collectors, and my ultimate collection was always just physicals. If I could, I would keep doing the same thing in terms of just having a physical component. But also, we are always online, and in Web3, we're always looking at digital art. When we switch off our computers, our digital art like is not there. You know what I mean? You have to look in your wallet. And so unless you have a frame, unless you intentionally print things, like, and most people don't. And so I wanted to deliver that experience where it's like a frame physical. Like I just wanted to, go the distance and do that, because I think that even if I don't frame it, chances are the person's not going to frame it, So it's just like wanting to deliver that experience to people. And, down the road, I think that ordinals that's immutable and on-chain art is such a special, canvas, that I felt like I was combining the ultimates of both, physical art and digital art, where in digital, or ordinals, special sats, block 78s that were nice to have, not a must have, but that along with a physical that's a one of one, that's just not been done before, because physicals have been done, but not one of ones in this scale, because it takes time, and sorting things out also takes time. And people have done it in prints, people have done it in editions, but no one's done it in one of ones at this scale, even on ETH. And so that's something that I really, wanted to explore. And another thing is also burn mechanics. That's something that we've seen Damien Hirst, you either pick the physical or you pick the digital. You have to choose one or the other. Or you've seen Rip Cash, hide the C phrase beneath his, digital, but you have to destroy the physical to get the digital. So you're seeing a lot of artists sort of play with this notion. Down the road, I see myself like, and I've spoken to this about to my collectors as well, this journey is a long one, and maybe down the road we can't burn an ordinal, but we can burn a physical. So if I can burn a physical and there's scarcity in the physicals, there's scarcity in the true authenticity of both an ordinal and a physical, which makes you the true owner, in my opinion. Then and also I can introduce new art to people who choose to burn the physical, and they get to pick a new piece. I think that that's something that there's just more to the story that I can absolutely see from the vantage point of like when I launched this collection, everything just became so clear. And I think as someone who's been in this space for 2+ years, you see so many gimmicks come out, you see so many art projects come out. And I think that when you have that vision, you just have to go for it. And it doesn't come every day. But when you listen to enough that's happening in the space, you can create something that's authentic to your values. And this Chromatica Ordinals just felt like this was the exact thing I have to do at the time.
I love that. And it sounds like when you do things, a lot of your experience has kind of guided it, and then you do it, and then it makes you think beyond it. And I know that you made a comment when you released your first print on Gamma,
Yeah.
and then through being involved in the prints process, that it started stimulating you to start, being inspired and thinking about what's next as well. So I'll pull that one up, and you can talk about the piece, and then talk about how, I guess, additions or recursive prints, on ordinals has kind of inspired you in certain ways as well.
Yeah, sounds good. So the piece that I dropped on Gamma is called Vivid Libations, and there are a few artists that sort of inspire this color palette on like just me following them on Instagram. And I forgot what her name is, but I love the color palette of saturated colors, as you can see from Chromatica ordinals, and it's called Chromatica, right? And so it's I that's the art that I really enjoy doing. And even in the architectural drawings that I have a New York piece, that's just super it's also very high chroma in terms of the colors, and this is the same, but this is the still life. This I think that my gamma prints will be still lifes of certain objects. And so in this case, it's, it's a few drinks that really just look very bright um, and enticing, right, to someone who is looking at this and they just want to grab a cup. And so it's I can see myself using this. It's like similar palette, obviously not the same colors, but doing maybe different drinks or different objects that kind of, elicit a very strong sense of like, okay, like I want to just grab it out of the picture, and it's something you can vividly sort of like imagine that it's right in front of you, like. And just a little bit of alpha, like the next one I'm going to work on, the one I'm actually already starting to draw it. Um, it's a frappuccino. It's a Starbucks frappuccino, and then I'm going to put a set of pearls in front of it. So it's things like that that just high chroma still life in modern day, I'd say.
I love that. And it seems like you use the world around you for a lot of inspiration, but also a lot of creators. You've mentioned quite a few creators,
Yeah.
throughout this discussion. I guess, are you always following people and looking at art and seeing, you can feel free to talk about that.
Yeah, there's so much I want to explore. And another one is right now I'm also working on a 36 by 36 painting for a friend of mine who commissioned me. And I right after I'm done with the piece, I really want to set it in resin. Now the question is whether or not I have space for that, because it's a huge, I don't have a studio, and so you'd have to pour resin and let it set for 2 weeks. And so I'm about to demolish my dog's sleeping area so that I have the space. But that's also inspired by, resin artists in general. If I had the studio space, that is the direction I would definitely want to go for. Just because even though it's messy, it really, really sets your painting in a way that makes it, you know, it makes it look like it's marble. And if you could, do watercolor underneath it, and then set it in resin, it just takes up so much space. But I've never been scared of just of situations like that might be a little bit inconvenient. I definitely think that to deliver an artistic experience, it just needs to be um, it needs to be true to your expression at the time, and you need to just go for it. And so I definitely see myself, going down and trying different mediums. And I have certain pieces that are also fully digital. So it's really just, I really feel that the world is my oyster in terms of different paintbrushes and different styles. I'm very happy to not be boxed in and at the same at this time.
Yeah, so it's clear that that's really shone through in everything that you've said, and you're, like you said, not scared of trying new things and different styles, and even circling back to the art that you created for your friends during COVID, I guess, potentially the start of your artistic journey. How have they viewed it? Have you introduced them to the world of Web3 and NFTs and ordinals, and how do they feel now that they own an original by you?
Yeah, I think that my Web 2 in real life friends don't really see this side of me too much, or engage in Web 3 in a meaningful way for them to understand what I've done. And so I don't think that I think that the art that they get is the art that they get, and I probably might never see those pieces again. Who knows? Um, I wish that I didn't give away some pieces actually. But I think that it's like me looking at my growth as an artist, I just can't believe how far I've gone, because as someone who's always been very, adamantly against, making it a career, I think that it's given me it's been very kind to me. And I feel like I need to do even better and to pick up even more skills to deliver higher quality, pieces that, don't that do my collectors proud. And so I just hope that, my collectors stay around and witness this journey with me as I grow, and them giving me the space to grow. I'm very, very grateful for their trust, because it's really difficult to make it in the space as an artist. And I'm happy that people see that through my like effort through like alpha calling and building real community, like building a real community and like family room, and just how much I care about the space. And I think that people have given that back to me in a way that they're trusting me to be on my journey to explore, and that I am someone that they trust to keep showing up and to keep doing things to bring them more surprises. I would say
it's an absolute pleasure to have you as part of the Gamma Partner Program. We're going to wrap up pretty shortly. So tell me, is there anything that I didn't ask you that that perhaps you'd like to comment on, or anything that you'd like to share before we do finish up?
Yeah, I think that Gamma is like, I have to thank Gamma, because I don't think that I understood you guys' vision when you guys first came to me. I thought, why would I be doing why would I be doing an edition for for like nothing at the time? And so I didn't really understand the vision. But once I saw the first drop, I then realized, I was like, oh, it's editions. It's because there's no such thing in ordinals, right? And so that's something that, I think what you guys are doing is absolutely fantastic for the ordinal space, and the UI, everything. I'm just super happy with it because it's so easy to use, and seeing all the artists put their work, it's really wonderful, right? And we've seen sort of similar initiatives on, like, for example, on Rarible, like, and and like certain like curation boards on ETH, but ETH, it's become so frequent that it doesn't feel like there's not much prestige to being on a certain platform. But I see that you guys are curating carefully as well, and there's a pipeline, and it's not just everyone kind of rush, you drop it or whatever, and there's constant marketing to ensure that certain artists get, for example, this to get exposure, which I think that you're building sensibly and thoughtfully, and not just here's a platform, go ahead, right? Because that's really not how you cultivate recurring members to engage both artists and also collectors with a platform. And so I kind of look forward to seeing how that grows with new things that you guys introduce, or new initiatives, and the spaces and everything. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for that. That's very kind, and that warms our hearts. And that's exactly our ethos and what we're trying to do. And that's why it's such a pleasure to have an artist of the caliber of yourself, Resa. So thank you so much for this conversation. It's been really enlightening and great to dig a bit deeper. And like you said, help to kind of feature you and highlight you, and hopefully more people learn about you. So thanks so much for coming on.
No, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure.